Hi, today I'm going to talk about the use of visual supports and how they can help a child learn to stop doing a certain type of behavior. Now this is particularly important when you're trying to set a boundary. So for instance, if you're trying to keep a child from leaving the house without permission or just from walking out without thinking about their safety, that it can be important to try to set a boundary or set a parameter to keep the child from doing that. Or another example that I keep finding occurs frequently is a child who will go into the refrigerator or go into the food cupboards and take all kinds of food items that they're not supposed to take. And they're not remembering the rule or the boundary, or they're just not choosing to follow it at that particular moment when maybe their impulsivity level is pretty high. Maybe they're hungry, they're wanting a particular kind of snack, and they're not thinking it through first before they do it. So sometimes using a visual support to help them remember that boundary or remember that rule can help you get compliance. Now this is particularly helpful for children who are on the autism spectrum, who will do a lot better at remembering to follow a rule if they have some kind of visual support. And then there's a lot of other kids too who can benefit from the use of visual support, such as kids with ADHD, or have other problems with inattention or impulsivity. So for instance, if you have a child who would go out the front door without thinking about, whether that's a safe choice to make at that time or whether they should inform a parent of what they're doing or ask for permission, you could put a stop sign on the front door. Now here's an example of a stop sign. So this is something that I just downloaded the image off the internet and laminated it, and we could put that on the front door. And when the child got to the front door, it would just be a reminder. And of course they would be informed about what it was supposed to mean, that when they see the sign, they're supposed to stop and maybe ask if they can go out. Sometimes we might take something like this, like a stop sign, and then add a little note to it, which just says, stop, ask mom, or ask dad, so that it reminds the child what they're supposed to do. Now if the child can't read, you might just put a picture of mom or dad on there, which indicates that they're supposed to stop and then they're supposed to talk to mom or dad. Now, this can also be done with the food issue that we talked about a minute ago. So for instance, if a child is always going into the pantry and taking snacks without permission, and they've been talked to about it, but they still keep breaking the rule, a stop sign could be put up and maybe a picture of a special treat box that's been set up for them somewhere that they can take food from, which I think is often an important point for kids who are taking food without permission, is they need to know perhaps that there is some food that they could take. So perhaps a special box has been set aside of healthy snacks, and it might be in the fridge or maybe it's in the pantry, and a stop sign is put up with maybe a picture of that special box that they could take food from. Or if they aren't allowed to pick food on their own and instead they need to wait for a certain snack time or they need to talk to a parent, they could have the stop sign put up along with a special picture. Maybe the picture is of the time at which they could have a snack, or maybe the picture is of mom or dad that they're supposed to ask. So it might say stop, and then you might have a picture of mom and dad. You're supposed to ask them first. So that this can be a really effective way to help remember what rules to follow. Another time I find this really helpful is on an outside gate. So I know quite a few autism spectrum kids who will be outside playing in the backyard with permission, and then they decide just to wander off around the neighborhood and they just open the gate and go. So in addition to doing it on a door, you can also do it on a gate. So this is laminated, you could put something like this on a gate, and again it's just a reminder for the child of what it is they're supposed to do, and you could use some of those other strategies if that would be appropriate for the child about once they stop, then what are they supposed to do next? Maybe go see mom and dad or whatever the plan is. So this is a visual support strategy to try to help set boundaries or parameters about what a child is supposed to not do. If you're interested in future tips like this, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is called ASD Specialist, And my name is Barbara Lester, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I have about 30 years of experience working with children and adolescents and their families, and especially children who are affected by autism or who have similar social or cognitive needs. So thanks for stopping by.